The warning alarm screamed across the bridge of the UEN dreadnought Incheon's Pride. Admiral Daeho Park stood calm in the center of the chaos, his weathered hands gripping the command rail. At 60 years old, he had seen wars on Mars and fought pirates in the asteroid belt. But nothing had prepared him for this. "Sir, unknown vessel dropping out of hyperspace," reported Lieutenant Boram Kim from the sensor station. Her voice stayed steady despite the impossible readings on her screen. "The ship is massive, 3 kilometers long, and it's made of some kind of living metal." Daeho watched the main screen as the alien vessel appeared. The ship looked like liquid mercury shaped into a graceful curve. Its surface rippled and flowed like water, but scans showed it was solid. No human technology could create anything like it. "All ships battle stations," Daeho ordered. His fleet of 12 vessels moved into defensive formation around the alien craft. They looked like toys compared to the massive visitor. Captain Hyunwoo Lee stood in the science lab aboard the research vessel Sejong. As Earth's top expert on alien life, he should have been excited. Instead, cold fear filled his stomach. The ship's design was too perfect, too advanced. Whoever built it had technology that made human engineering look like stone tools. "Captain Lee, we're getting a transmission," called out Communications Officer Ji-Hai Choi. She was young but brilliant with languages and codes. "It's using multiple frequencies and mathematical patterns. Give me a few minutes to decode it." Daeho waited as the translation worked. His ship stayed ready to fight, but what could they do against technology like this? Nuclear missiles seemed useless against a ship that could reshape itself. "Translation coming through now, sir," Ji-Hai announced. The main screen flickered and showed a tall, graceful figure. The being had smooth, pale skin that seemed to glow with soft light. Its features kept shifting slightly, as if it couldn't decide what face to wear. "Greetings, inhabitants of the third planet," the alien said. Its voice was musical and pleasant. "I am Ambassador Veltari of the Galactic Coalition. We bring you peace and an invitation to join the civilized galaxy." Daeho stepped forward. "I am Admiral Daeho Park of the United Earth Navy. State your intentions in our system." Veltari smiled with what seemed like genuine warmth. "We have watched your species develop. You have reached the threshold where you must choose. Join the coalition and learn the ways of peace, or remain isolated and primitive." The words sounded friendly, but something in the alien's tone made Daeho uneasy. He had heard political speak before. This felt like a threat wrapped in pretty words. Captain Hyunwoo reviewed the data streams flowing from the alien ship. The technology readings made no sense. The vessel used zero-point energy and gravity manipulation that human scientists could barely understand. Worse, passive scans detected weapons that could destroy planets. "Admiral," Hyunwoo called over the communication link, "I'm reading energy signatures that suggest this ship could glass our entire planet from orbit. We need to be very careful here." Veltari continued speaking as if reading from a script. "The coalition represents 12 advanced species who have brought peace to thousands of worlds. We offer you the same gift. Dismantle your military forces, accept our guidance, and join the galactic community." "And if we refuse?" Daeho asked bluntly. The alien's smile never wavered, but something cold flashed in its eyes. "That would be most unfortunate. Species who reject our offer often face terrible accidents. Asteroid impacts, stellar flares, quantum cascade failures. The universe can be so dangerous for young civilizations." In the communications center, Ji-Hai's fingers flew over her console. She had managed to tap into the alien ship's external transmissions. What she found made her blood freeze. The coalition wasn't just making first contact. They were conducting detailed scans of Earth's defenses, population centers, and industrial capacity. "Sir," she whispered to Hyunwoo, "they're not here to talk. They're here to scout us for invasion." Meanwhile, aboard the alien vessel, Veltari received reports from the scout probes. Earth's military was laughably primitive. Chemical rockets, nuclear weapons, and metal armor. The humans still fought with kinetic weapons like barbaric savages. Their largest ships were tiny corvettes compared to coalition dreadnoughts. The evaluation was simple. Humanity had 3 options: submit willingly, be conquered quickly, or be eliminated completely. Veltari preferred willing submission. It meant less paperwork and faster resource extraction. "Admiral Park," Veltari said with practiced patience, "you have 30 of your standard days to consider our offer. We will return for your answer. I suggest you choose wisely. The galaxy has no place for those who refuse to evolve beyond warfare." The alien ship began to shift and change. Space around it bent in impossible ways as it prepared to jump to hyperspace. In seconds, the massive vessel vanished, leaving only empty space and confused sensor readings. Deho stood silent for a long moment. Around him, his crew waited for orders. He had commanded fleets in 3 wars and never backed down from a fight. But this enemy had technology beyond human understanding. All ships return to base, he finally ordered. We need to brief Earth Command immediately. As the human fleet began its journey home, messages flashed between the ships. The crews had all heard the conversation. They knew what was coming. In 30 days, they would have to choose between slavery and war. Dr. Young-Sik Han worked late in his laboratory on Luna Base. As head of the Military Research Division, he had always focused on fighting human enemies. Now he stared at recordings of the alien ship and tried to imagine weapons that could hurt it. Conventional missiles would be useless. The living metal could probably absorb the impact and heal itself. Energy weapons might work, but humans were centuries behind alien technology. Only one advantage remained to them. The aliens expected civilized warfare. They thought in terms of elegant solutions and minimal casualties, but humans had learned to fight dirty during thousands of years of constant war. Maybe crude weapons could surprise an enemy that expected sophisticated attacks. The countdown had begun. 30 days to prepare for the fight of humanity's life. 30 days to prove that sometimes the primitive species could teach the advanced ones about real warfare. In deep space, Veltari's ship rejoined a massive coalition fleet. The ambassador made its report to the War Council. Earth would submit or burn. Either outcome would serve the coalition's needs. But none of them had ever fought humans before. They had no idea what they were about to face. President Taemin Song stood before the emergency assembly of world leaders. The massive chamber was silent as death. Every nation had sent representatives after hearing about the alien contact. The future of humanity would be decided in this room. Ladies and gentlemen, Taemin began, his voice carrying across the hall. We face a choice that will determine whether humanity survives as a free species. The Galactic Coalition has given us an ultimatum. Submit to their rule or face destruction. Fleet Admiral Sun Mi-jang stepped forward to address the assembly. At 55, she commanded respect from every military leader on Earth. Her uniform displayed medals from the Mars Colonial Wars and the Belt Pirate conflicts, the alien fleet. Currently numbers over 50,000 ships, she reported. Our combined forces total 290 vessels. In conventional warfare, we would last approximately 6 hours. Murmurs of fear rippled through the chamber. Some delegates began whispering about immediate surrender. The numbers seemed hopeless. Dr. Chan-Woo Park stood up from the military advisors section. His civilian clothes looked out of place among the uniforms, but his reputation commanded attention. As head of advanced weapons research, he had been working on humanity's darkest secrets. Admiral Zhang is correct about conventional warfare, Chan-Woo said. However, we have been preparing for exactly this scenario. Project Defiance has been developing weapons and tactics specifically designed to fight technologically superior enemies. The presentation screen lit up with classified diagrams. Chan-Woo showed designs for kinetic kill vehicles, nuclear minefields, and electromagnetic pulse weapons. While the aliens perfected energy shields and plasma cannons, humans had focused on crude but effective solutions. Their ships use energy-based defenses, Chan-Woo explained. Our nuclear weapons and kinetic projectiles use different physical principles. Their shields might not stop old-fashioned explosions and metal slugs. Captain Yoon-ji Kwon had spent the last week conducting reconnaissance missions to the outer system. Her stealth frigate Busan Runner was designed to avoid detection by human sensors. Against alien technology, it was a gamble. The Coalition staging area is located beyond Pluto, she reported. They have one massive command ship surrounded by smaller vessels. The formation suggests they expect minimal resistance. Their ships are beautiful but appear lightly armored. Admiral Deho had been studying the enemy fleet composition. Years of military experience told him something important about the Coalition forces. They fought like a police force, not an army. These aliens have been the galactic bullies for centuries, he observed. Every species they encountered either surrendered immediately or was crushed quickly. They have no experience fighting a determined enemy that refuses to quit. Meanwhile, in the civilian sectors, Merchant Captain Young-Sik Han was organizing something the military couldn't officially support. His underground network of freighter captains and miners had been quietly preparing for war. Every cargo ship in the belt is installing hidden weapons, he reported to his secret meeting. Mining charges can be converted into ship-killer missiles. Construction mechs can be armed for boarding actions. If the military falls, we'll still be fighting. The Coalition had made one critical error in their assessment of humanity. They saw a single species on one planet with primitive technology. They failed to understand that humans had already spread across the solar system, colonies on Mars, mining stations in the asteroid belt, and research outposts around the outer planets created a distributed target that would be difficult to eliminate completely. Dr. Mi-Young Shin worked frantically in her laboratory on Mars. As head of the xenobiology department, she had been studying the limited data from the alien encounter. What she discovered was both encouraging and terrifying. The Coalition species showed signs of evolutionary stagnation. Centuries of peace and advanced technology had made them soft. Their reflexes were slower. Their aggression suppressed, their survival instincts dulled. In contrast, humans remained apex predators barely removed from their violent origins. "We might be primitive," she reported to Earth Command, "but we're also dangerous in ways they can't understand. They've forgotten how to fight for survival." The 30-day deadline approached rapidly. Across the solar system, human forces prepared for the impossible. Admiral Sunmi coordinated the defense plan from Luna Command while Admiral Jong-Soo Park prepared mobile strike forces in the asteroid belt. Captain Bo-Ram Kim had been promoted to head of the new Xenolinguistics Warfare Division. Her job was to monitor Coalition communications and spread disinformation. If humanity was going to fight, they needed every advantage possible. "We've been broadcasting fake surrender negotiations," she reported. "The aliens think we're still debating their offer. Meanwhile, our fleets are moving into attack positions." The psychological profiles of Coalition species revealed another weakness. They had become accustomed to easy victories through technological superiority. The concept of facing an enemy that would fight to extinction was foreign to them. Commander Woo-Jin Park tested the new human combat doctrine in simulation after simulation. Instead of meeting the enemy in open space, human forces would use guerrilla tactics. Hit-and-run attacks, ambushes from asteroid fields, and boarding actions using human advantages in close combat. As the deadline approached, President Tae-min prepared humanity's response. The message would be broadcast across the galaxy, letting every species know that not all civilizations would bow to Coalition rule. The final day arrived. Coalition ships appeared at the edge of the solar system, expecting to receive humanity's surrender. Instead, they detected something impossible. The human fleet was not gathered defensively around Earth. It was spread throughout the system in attack formation. Admiral Dae-ho stood on the bridge of Incheon's Pride as the alien ships approached. Around him, his crew prepared for the fight of their lives. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing technology they barely understood. But they were also human. They had evolved through millions of years of warfare, competition, and survival against impossible odds. Their ancestors had fought with sticks and stones against creatures with claws and fangs. Now they would fight with nuclear fire against creatures with energy shields. "All ships, this is Admiral Park," he broadcast across the fleet. "Today we make history. Today we show the galaxy that some species cannot be conquered. For Earth." The response echoed from hundreds of ships. "For Earth." President Taemin's message reached the Coalition fleet moments later. "The galaxy sent envoys to demand our surrender. But humanity responds with its fleet. We choose war over slavery. We choose death over submission. Come and take us if you can." The aliens had expected a broken species begging for mercy. Instead, they faced an enemy that welcomed battle. For the first time in centuries, the Coalition would learn what it meant to fight a species that refused to lose. The war for humanity's survival was about to begin. The Coalition's first attack force moved toward Earth with complete confidence. War Commander Zetharos had conquered 47 systems without losing a single ship. These primitive humans would surrender after the first demonstration of Coalition power. Admiral Dae-ho watched the enemy formation on his tactical display. 12 elegant alien vessels approached in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with energy shields. They moved like dancers, beautiful and graceful. "All ships, weapons free," Dae-ho ordered. "Remember the plan. Hit them hard and fast before they know what's happening." The human fleet struck from 3 directions at once. Captain Min-ho Kim commanded the heavy cruiser Gwangju's Defiance as it launched the opening salvo. Nuclear torpedoes streaked toward the alien ships. their primitive guidance systems invisible to sophisticated sensors designed to detect energy weapons. The coalition shields flared as the nuclear warheads detonated. The elegant energy barriers that could stop plasma beams and particle cannons failed completely against the crude explosive force. 3 alien ships vanished in balls of radioactive fire. Impossible, Cethero screamed from the bridge of his command vessel. How did those primitive weapons penetrate our shields? Commander So Young Lee led the first wave of human boarding troops. Her Taekwondo-class powered armor was crude compared to alien technology, but it was designed for close combat. While coalition forces relied on ranged energy weapons, humans still believed in getting close to their enemies. The Soul's hammer drove directly into the alien formation, its armored hull absorbing energy blasts that would have destroyed a coalition vessel. Human Marines poured from boarding pods, their mechanical suits clumsy but unstoppable in the confines of an alien ship. Coalition crew members had never seen anything like human combat troops. The aliens fought with elegant precision, trying to disable rather than destroy. Humans fought like wild animals, using explosives, kinetic weapons, and bare hands when necessary. "They're savages," transmitted one coalition officer before his communication cut to static. "They don't follow any civilized rules of warfare." The battle for Luna Station became humanity's first major victory. Captain Woo Jin Park commanded the defense platforms while Lieutenant Hae-Won Kim led Marine units against boarding parties. The aliens expected orbital bombardment followed by careful occupation. Instead, they faced a meat grinder of defensive positions and booby traps. Dr. Yon Ho Shin monitored the battle from Earth's Military Research Center. The alien weapons were impressive but predictable. Energy beams, gravity projectors, and plasma cannons all followed known physical laws. Human electromagnetic pulse weapons disrupted their targeting systems, while mechanical backup systems kept human weapons firing. "Their technology is more advanced," he reported to Admiral Sunmi, "but it's also more fragile. They've forgotten how to build simple, reliable weapons." The aliens learned their first lesson about human warfare when Captain Ji-Hai Park's destroyer squadron turned the asteroid belt into a weapon. Mining charges attached to large rocks created kinetic projectiles that moved too fast for energy weapons to stop. Coalition ships found themselves under bombardment from every direction. Admiral Sunmi coordinated the defense from Luna Command, her tactical genius turning humanity's disadvantages into strengths. While coalition forces tried to maintain formation and follow doctrine, human ships broke into small groups that attacked from unexpected angles. "They're fighting like pirates," complained Coalition Admiral Velkanos. "Where is their honor? Where is their discipline?" The answer came when Commander Sung Ho Kim's wolf pack found a coalition supply convoy. The aliens had positioned their cargo vessels safely behind the battle lines, protected by escort ships. Human raiders appeared from the shadow of an asteroid, destroyed the escorts, and captured the supplies before vanishing back into the belt. Captain Nari Park pioneered the human tactic of ramming attacks. Her modified freighter Busan's Revenge had been stripped of cargo space and filled with explosives. When coalition ships tried to board her vessel, they triggered nuclear mines that destroyed both ships. "They're insane," broadcast the coalition fleet. "They're willing to die just to kill a few of us?" The psychological impact spread through coalition ranks like poison. For centuries, they had fought civilized enemies who surrendered when faced with superior force. Humans kept fighting even when victory was impossible. Some human ships continued attacking even after taking fatal damage. Dr. Hyun-Woo Park studied captured coalition equipment and found a critical weakness. The aliens had optimized everything for efficiency and elegance. Their ships were beautiful, their weapons precise, their shields perfect against energy attacks. But they had no redundancy, no backup systems, no preparation for total warfare. The tide turned when Lieutenant Colonel Dong-Sik Kim led the assault on the coalition's forward command post. Human Marines used breaching charges to blow holes in the alien station's hull, then fought room by room through the corridors. Coalition forces fell back in confusion, unable to adapt to close-quarters combat. "Request immediate reinforcement," transmitted the coalition commander. "The humans fight like demons. They show no fear of death." But reinforcements were already under attack throughout the solar system. Admiral Jong-Soo Park's mobile forces struck at communication relays, supply depots, and isolated ships. Every coalition advantage disappeared when they couldn't coordinate their forces or resupply their weapons. The breakthrough came when Captain Boram, Choi's intelligence unit, cracked the Coalition communication codes. Human forces could now intercept enemy orders and coordinate attacks on high-value targets. The technological advantage that had dominated the galaxy for centuries crumbled against human determination and adaptability. War Commander Zetharos found himself trapped in the very system he had expected to conquer easily. His forces were scattered, his supplies running low, and his enemy growing stronger with each battle. Worst of all, he was beginning to understand that humans would never surrender. "Send a message to the Coalition High Command," he ordered. "Request the full pacification fleet. These humans are not like other species. They cannot be conquered by conventional means." The message reached Coalition space along with recordings of human combat techniques. For the first time in galactic history, a junior species had not only refused to surrender, but had actually fought the Coalition to a standstill. Admiral Deho stood in the wreckage of Luna Station's command center, his uniform torn and bloody but his eyes bright with victory. Around him, human and alien debris mixed together in the low gravity. The battle had cost them dearly, but they had won. "Sir," reported Captain Minho over the communication system, "Coalition forces are withdrawing to the outer system. We've captured 4 intact alien vessels and over 100 prisoners." "Excellent," Deho replied. "Have our technical team strip those ships down to the last bolt. If they want to fight us with advanced technology, we'll learn to use it against them." The first phase of the war was over. Humanity had survived the initial attack and proven they could fight alien technology with human tactics. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. The Coalition would return with larger fleets and deadlier weapons. In the captured alien ships, human engineers marveled at the advanced technology while looking for ways to turn it into weapons. The Coalition had made the mistake of underestimating human creativity and adaptability. The galaxy would soon learn that giving humans access to advanced alien technology was the worst possible mistake. Earth's children were about to become far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. War Commander Zetharos had been relieved of duty in disgrace. The Coalition High Command could not believe that a primitive species had defeated their expeditionary force. Now Elite War Commander, Vorthak led the pacification fleet toward the Sol system, with orders to end the human problem permanently. Admiral Sun Mi studied intelligence reports from her new headquarters deep inside the asteroid belt. The approaching Coalition fleet numbered over 5,000 ships, 10 times larger than the previous attack force, but humanity had used the breathing space wisely. "Status report on the deep strike missions," she requested from her staff. Captain Mi Young Choi stepped forward, her face grim with determination. "The Sol's shadow successfully penetrated Coalition space. Captain Jongmin is reporting back from his reconnaissance mission now." Jongmin Park's stealth ship had been humanity's first venture into alien territory. What he discovered changed everything about how humans understood their enemy. The Coalition wasn't just a military alliance. It was a system of cultural genocide that had destroyed thousands of unique civilizations. "Admiral," Jongmin's recorded message played across the command center. "The Coalition integration centers are processing camps. They systematically eliminate local cultures, reduce populations to manageable levels, and reprogram survivors to serve Coalition interests. We're not fighting conquerors. We're fighting exterminators." The revelation hardened human resolve beyond anything the Coalition could have imagined. This wasn't just about Earth's freedom anymore. It was about justice for every species the Coalition had destroyed. Commander Sung-Ho Kim had spent months perfecting human wolfpack tactics. His fleet of modified civilian ships struck deep into Coalition supply lines, turning every cargo run into a potential battle. The aliens couldn't protect everything, and humans had learned to strike where the enemy was weakest. "Target confirmed," reported Lieutenant Bo Young Lee from the bridge of the converted mining ship Incheon's Fury. "Coalition supply convoy, minimal escort, all ships attack pattern Delta." The human raiders emerged from the shadow of an asteroid like sharks attacking a school of fish. Nuclear torpedoes and kinetic weapons overwhelmed the elegant Coalition escorts before they could raise their shields. Within minutes, the supply ships were captured or destroyed. Captain Nari Park had become famous throughout human space for her innovation in ship design. Her engineering team stripped captured Coalition vessels down to their basic components, then rebuilt them with human weapons and armor. The result was hybrid ships that confused enemy sensors and packed devastating firepower. The alien energy systems are actually more efficient than our fusion reactors, she explained to Admiral Sunmi, but they're also more complex. We've been installing manual override systems and backup power sources. If their computers fail, we can still fight. General Byung-ho Kim prepared for humanity's first planetary assault. Intelligence suggested that the coalition held several occupied worlds within striking distance of human forces. These planets contained millions of enslaved beings who could become allies in the fight against their oppressors. The target was Kepler 442b, a world that had been integrated into the coalition 50 years earlier. The native species had been reduced to a servant class while coalition administrators extracted the planet's resources. It was time for liberation. Remember, Byung-ho addressed his assault troops, we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every species that ever faced coalition peace. Hit hard, hit fast, and show no mercy to oppressors. The assault began with a deception that confused coalition defenses completely. Instead of the expected orbital bombardment, human forces used atmospheric entry pods to land directly on the planet's surface. Coalition garrison troops had trained for siege warfare, not close-quarters urban combat. Lieutenant Colonel Hae-jin Kim led the first wave into the capital city. Her Marines fought through streets designed for elegant coalition vehicles, using the narrow spaces and tight corners to negate alien advantages in long-range weapons. Human soldiers excelled in the brutal, building-to-building combat that followed. The natives are rising up everywhere, reported Captain Woo-sung Park. They've been waiting 50 years for someone to fight back against the coalition. We're coordinating with local resistance groups and hitting strategic targets. The coalition commanders on Kepler 442b found themselves facing not just human invaders but a planet-wide rebellion. Their peaceful integration methods had created deep resentment that exploded into violence when someone finally showed it was possible to fight back. Dr. Chan Woo Lee had been working frantically to reverse engineer coalition technology for human use. The breakthrough came when his team learned to combine alien energy systems with human manufacturing techniques. The result was weapons that could match coalition firepower while maintaining human reliability. We've cracked their shield technology, he reported to Earth Command. Our new hybrid vessels can generate energy barriers while still using kinetic weapons. We're becoming a technological match for coalition forces. Meanwhile, Captain Yoonji Kwan continued her deep reconnaissance missions into coalition space. Her intelligence gathering revealed a disturbing truth. The coalition was fracturing. Member species were beginning to question whether the costs of membership were worth the protection it provided. There are at least 3 coalition species considering withdrawal, she reported. The Thanari Trade Federation is secretly negotiating with their neighbors about forming an independent alliance. Our resistance is inspiring others. The psychological warfare campaign led by Commander Young-sik Han was spreading across coalition space faster than military action. Recordings of human combat effectiveness, evidence of coalition crimes, and promises of liberation reached oppressed populations throughout the galaxy. Every coalition victory cost them more than they can afford, Young-sik explained to the Strategic Planning Committee. They're designed to fight short wars against weak opponents. A long conflict against determined resistance is bleeding them dry. The coalition response was predictably brutal. Pacification fleets began glassing planets that showed signs of rebellion, but this only made things worse for them. Every destroyed world became evidence of coalition brutality, driving more species toward open rebellion. Admiral Jong-soo Park received reports from across human space about alien refugees seeking protection. Ships full of coalition deserters and freed slaves were arriving daily at human bases. Each group brought intelligence about coalition weaknesses and plans. We're not just fighting the coalition anymore, he observed to Admiral Sunmi. We're leading a galactic revolution. The climax of this phase came when elite war commander Vorthak finally reached the Sol system with his massive fleet. He expected to find a broken human resistance hiding among the asteroids. Instead, he found a fully prepared enemy that had spent months learning to fight coalition technology. How is this possible? Vorthak demanded as human forces struck his advance units from multiple directions. They were primitive 6 months ago. The answer was simple. Humans learned fast, adapted quickly, and never stopped fighting. While the coalition had spent centuries perfecting the same elegant technologies, Humans had been innovating, experimenting, and finding new ways to kill their enemies. Captain Daewon Kim's hybrid battleship New Seoul demonstrated the evolution of human combat doctrine. Armed with coalition energy weapons and human nuclear missiles, protected by alien shields and human armor, crewed by veterans who had learned to think like their enemies while fighting like humans. All ships, engage at close range, Admiral Sunmi ordered. Show them what happens when you give humans time to prepare. The battle was unlike anything the Coalition had ever experienced. Human forces used captured alien technology with human tactical doctrine, creating combinations the enemy couldn't predict or counter. Coalition formations dissolved under assault patterns that defied all established military theory. War Commander Forthak watched his perfect fleet being torn apart by an enemy that refused to follow the rules of civilized warfare. These humans had become something new, a hybrid of primitive aggression and advanced technology that the galaxy had never seen before. Request immediate. Reinforcement from all sectors, he transmitted to Coalition High Command. The humans are no longer primitives. They have become something far more dangerous. The final battle for galactic freedom would take place at Prima Concord, the Coalition's capital system. Supreme War Commander Athekvor assembled the entire Coalition Navy, 40,000 ships representing the accumulated military might of 12 species and 3 centuries of conquest. Admiral Sunmi stood on the bridge of her flagship Earth's Defiance, watching the massive enemy formation through tactical displays. The human fleet numbered barely 800 vessels, but each ship represented months of innovation, adaptation, and pure determination to survive. All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Jang, she broadcast across the human armada. Today we finish what they started. Today we show the galaxy that freedom cannot be conquered. The Coalition formation was impressive but predictable. Thousands of ships arranged in perfect geometric patterns, their energy shields creating a wall of light across space. It was beautiful, elegant, and exactly what human tactical doctrine was designed to destroy. Captain Jae-Sung Park led the first phase of the assault. His mission was the most dangerous, a direct attack on the Coalition's orbital command station that controlled their entire fleet. Using modified mining equipment and volunteers from across human space, his ships would literally drill through the enemy's strongest defenses. Remember, Jae-Sung told his crews, we're not trying to be heroes. We're trying to win, hit them where it hurts most and keep hitting until they break. The assault began with electronic warfare. Commander Sora Kim's specialists flooded Coalition sensors with electromagnetic interference, making it impossible for the enemy to coordinate their massive fleet. Thousands of ships suddenly found themselves fighting blind. Human forces struck from every direction at once, their hybrid technology creating combinations the Coalition couldn't predict. Ships armed with alien energy weapons and human nuclear missiles tore through defensive formations that had never faced such diverse threats. The breakthrough came when Jae-Sung's assault force reached the command station. Instead of elegant boarding actions, human Marines used shaped charges to blow holes in the station's hull, then fought through the corridors with flamethrowers and explosives. Coalition command structure is collapsing, reported Captain Dong-Hyun Lee from his position with the reserve fleet. Their formations are breaking apart. All ships execute final phase. The Coalition's perfect formations crumbled under human wolfpack tactics. Admiral Sunmi had divided her fleet into dozens of small groups that attacked independently, making it impossible for the enemy to mount an organized defense. Each human group targeted specific Coalition weaknesses while avoiding their strengths. Supreme War Commander Athekvor watched his life's work dissolve into chaos. The Coalition Navy had been designed to intimidate primitive species into surrender, not fight a desperate enemy that refused to lose. Human tactics defied everything he understood about civilized warfare. They fight like animals, he transmitted to the Coalition Council. They sacrifice their own ships to destroy ours. They use their wounded vessels as weapons. How do we fight an enemy that welcomes death? The answer came from an unexpected source. Captain Mi-Jin Lee had been monitoring Coalition communications when she intercepted transmissions from Coalition member species. The carefully constructed alliance was falling apart as species after species announced their withdrawal from the Coalition. This is the Thanari Trade Federation, Broadcast 1 transmission. We formally withdraw our support from Coalition military operations. The humans have shown us that resistance is possible. Similar messages flooded coalition channels as member species abandoned their overlords. The Verdani Collective, the Kronos Mining Guild, the Stellar Cartographers Union, all declared independence from coalition rule. Dr. Hyun-Soo Park monitored the psychological impact from his position aboard the science vessel King Sejong. The coalition wasn't just losing a military battle, they were losing the political foundation that held their empire together. 3 more species have declared independence in the last hour, he reported. The humans aren't just winning this battle. They're inspiring a galactic revolution. Ambassador Veltari appeared on communication channels across the battle zone, its perfect features showing confusion and fear for the first time. The coalition had offered peace through strength for centuries. Now that strength was being shattered by a species they had dismissed as primitive savages. "This is madness," Veltari broadcast. "We offered you peace. We offered you a place in the galactic community. Why do you choose destruction over civilization?" Admiral Sunmi's response echoed across the galaxy. "Because we choose freedom over slavery. Because we choose dignity over survival. Because some things are worth fighting for, no matter the cost." The final phase of the battle saw human forces closing to point-blank range with coalition ships. While the aliens tried to maintain distance and use their technological advantages, human crews rammed enemy vessels, boarded them with combat troops, and fought deck by deck through alien corridors. Captain Young-Ho Kim's destroyer Gwangju's courage exemplified human determination. With his ship's hull breached and life support failing, he ordered a ramming attack on a coalition battleship. Both vessels died in nuclear fire, but the psychological impact on coalition forces was devastating. "They're willing to die for victory," reported one coalition captain before his ship was boarded by human marines. "How do we fight an enemy that fears slavery more than death?" The coalition's surrender came not through military defeat, but through political collapse. As Supreme War Commander HFY watched his fleet being destroyed ship by ship, message after message arrived announcing the withdrawal of coalition member species. "This is impossible," HFY transmitted to what remained of coalition high command. "We are the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. How are we losing to primitive barbarians?" The answer came from an intercepted human transmission. Captain Bo-Ram Han, now commanding the captured coalition vessel New Harmony, responded directly to the enemy commander. "You're not losing to primitives. You're losing to the species you tried to enslave. You're losing to every civilization you destroyed. You're losing to the idea that freedom is worth any sacrifice." In the end, the coalition's surrender was anticlimactic. Faced with total military defeat and the dissolution of their political alliance, the remaining coalition leaders agreed to abandon their empire and return to their home systems. Ambassador Veltari's final transmission carried across the galaxy. "We offered them peace, but they chose war. We expected surrender, but they chose defiance. We tried to bring them civilization, but they brought us revolution." 5 years after the war's end, Admiral Daeho Park stood on the bridge of humanity's first extragalactic exploration vessel. The former coalition space had reorganized into dozens of independent alliances, all committed to mutual respect rather than domination. "Sir," reported Captain Sun Young Kim from the navigation station, "we're ready for the jump to the Andromeda Galaxy. The exploration fleet is standing by." Daeho nodded, watching the stars through the viewscreen. Humanity had not just survived first contact with an advanced galactic civilization. They had shattered that civilization and rebuilt it on principles of freedom and equality. "Begin the jump," he ordered. "Let's see what other galaxies need to learn about freedom." Behind them, the Milky Way settled into a new era of independence and cooperation. Former coalition species worked together as equals, building a galactic community based on mutual respect rather than domination. The galaxy had learned a simple lesson. Some species cannot be conquered, cannot be tamed, and will not bow to anyone. When offered the choice between slavery and war, humans had chosen war. When faced with extinction, they had chosen to fight. And sometimes, against all odds, the fighters win. In the archives of the former coalition capital, scholars recorded the final lesson of the human war. When diplomacy fails, when negotiation becomes a trap, when the choice is between freedom and slavery, some species choose to fight. And when they fight with nothing left to lose, they become the most dangerous force in the universe. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.